So was the founders' intention really to tie the number of Supreme Court justices to the number of circuit courts? Or are the Democrats just trying to alter perception so they can somehow try to convince the public we need a Biden majority by changing the makeup of the court, which has stood at 9 justices since 1869? Joining us now is someone who knows history better than all the Democrats combined, former presidential advisor and New York Times bestselling author of Inside Trump's White House, The Real Story of His Presidency, Doug Wead. Doug, there is so much to unpack there, but apparently the Democrats are now experts on history. Your reaction?
Well, this isn't happening in a vacuum, Natalie. This is happening after a very controversial election. Some said we looked like a banana republic the way we counted the votes. And in fact, we weren't a banana republic. There is no country in Latin America that allows mail-in voting, not a single country, because it was so wrought with fraud. So Biden is making this move, and the Democrats are making this move without any mandate at all. They're discounting half of the country and trying to force this last institution. They control the White House, Congress, academia, media, the bureaucracy, the deep state, corporate America. They control all of it. The only thing that stands in their way now is the Supreme Court. And they want to take that over, too. And if they can't do it legitimately, they'll just change the rules.
You're right. If they're going to rig a presidential election, of course they're going to rig the courts. It's like, why are we even surprised? I think it's really just the timing of this. And the optics are really just like, I mean, come on. It's like last Friday, Biden announces this commission. We're going to have 180 days, get all the experts together, always the experts, right, to decide whether or not court packing should be fine. Then Nadler comes out on Thursday, says, you know, we're going to we're not packing, we're unpacking the court. And then Nancy Pelosi says, no, I'm not going to introduce it on the House floor just yet. So what do you see? Is this testing the waters? What are they really trying to do? Because you know this timeline, they're controlling this timeline. So what are they really trying to do here?
Yeah, you're right. They're testing the waters, and they've got plenty of time to do it. Look at the changes that have already happened. Big tech and media censorship. It just if someone a year ago had suggested that some of these things would happen, nobody would have believed it. I mean, you got a president who publicly says there was no vaccine when I became president, and you have the media just ho-hum accepting everything he has to say without any correction of any story whatsoever. So you've got that cover. They've got time, so they'll float these balloons. Right now, 70 to 80% of the country says, no way are you going to mess up the Supreme Court. But that could change, and that may very well change. They have Hollywood working for them. They have complete censorship. They have the schools. And, Natalie, they're flooding these institutions with billions of dollars. I mean, Planned Parenthood now gets another injection. And academia, they want to forgive the student loans. That sounds good. Poor people that owe that money. But it doesn't go to those poor people. It goes to Harvard, which is sitting on a $42 billion endowment fund. So all this money they're spending now, they're pushing and giving to their own institutions which they control, which includes corporate America, by the way. It's amusing to hear Elizabeth Warren talk about billionaires. They supported Hillary Clinton 20-1. They supported Joe Biden 18-1. And the top 20 companies in America, 18 of those CEOs are Democrats. So they've got everything but the Supreme Court. That's all that stands between them and a complete dictatorship.
And they're even trying to kick off a Democrat on the Supreme Court, where he even comes out and says, the liberal Justice Breyer saying court packing's bad. Now all of a sudden, oh, he should retire. You know, he's so terrible. So it's like they even go after their own. But you're right. It is scary. We have a propaganda press now that really doesn't provide coverage. They provide cover for Biden and all the Democrats. they're not listening to the people. So it's like, why even slow walk it at this point? They know they can do whatever they want to do. They can get rid of the filibuster, and they can really turn us into a dictatorship. So what can the people do to push back? How do we stop this from happening? You almost feel like you're stuck in this inevitable situation where you know what's going to happen, but you're like, what do we do? Because we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, there's some hope that some leftist liberal Democrats are now beginning to say, whoa, I don't want communism in this country. So there is some hope that some of their own base will erode. But as I said, that's a long shot because they're flooding that base with money and paying them huge amounts of money. So it's a dangerous time. I remember Walsingham in that Elizabeth movie by Tim Bevan. He says to young Queen Elizabeth, be afraid, be very afraid. That's how I feel right now.
I know, and it's like we all see where you are right now. You're in the best place in America right now, Mar-a-Lago, and it's like we knew what a good president we had in President Trump. We felt like we weren't taking him for granted, but when you see, he really was holding back these evil forces for 4 years, and it's like we realize now what a good president he was based on Biden right now totally messing up the entire country. So real quick, I know that from a historical perspective, what can we expect from history in this? I know history always repeats itself. Are you seeing America almost turning into that communist country, even though we had made America great again?
Yes, it could happen. It could happen, and we shouldn't fool ourselves about it. And it could be a lot darker than it is now. You talk about censorship in the Soviet Union. It was against the law to own a Christmas tree. It was against the law to own a musical cassette of Johann Sebastian Bach. It could get real outrageous. They're changing the names of our school. They're making it illegal to have any religious symbols in school, but requiring the children to chant Indian chants. So it could get even worse. But the good news, Natalie, is America has a way of bouncing back. They never thought Ronald Reagan would ever get elected. He did. They never thought Donald Trump would ever get elected. Imagine what would have happened if Hillary had won. All these things we wouldn't have even known would have been upon us. But America can do it again. And who knows, maybe Donald Trump will be the one to bring it back.
I know. It's like looking back at old rally footage, it's like that was just 4 months ago. The people that believe in our country, that wanted to make America great again, it's like we're all still out there. We don't see it as much in the media as often. Of course, they barely covered it as it was. But when you know you're the majority, we found our voice in Donald Trump. We stopped being so silent. And I think we now realize, you know what? America's worth fighting for. America's worth speaking up for, even if it seems rigged, right? Take it from the outsider himself. Just because it's rigged doesn't mean it always has to be that way. And so we still have to tap into that inspirational thinking, because they can try to break the system, but it's really up to us whether or not they break our spirits.
That's well said, Natalie. I agree.
Well, God bless you, Doug, for what you're doing. We always love talking to you because it helps kind of going back to history. Sometimes you're just like, oh, no, we haven't been here before. And then you're like, wait, we have, just in a different way. So there's always hope. And thanks for what you're doing to keep getting the true message out.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
And Doug Wead, your excellent service in government at the White House and in the private sector.
I think it'll depend a lot on the president. And I went into the Oval Office and Barbara was there. Jared Kushner said to me, and I've seen that all through history, they want cheap labor.
And I mean really behind the scenes, but Doug is respected by everybody. So he had access to everybody.